Hello everyone and welcome to It Goes Off. It's that time of the week where we have a look at all the goings on in round 7 in wrap of the round. And Grantley Bernard, for the first time this season, the Perth Wildcats have fallen out of the top 4 and looking a little shaky.
They're on a 3-game losing streak, so I think shaky is probably a good term for that. And it was interesting that Rob Beveridge, after they started 3-0, said he would have been happy with a 3-2. Well, he got his 3-2, and now he's got a 3-3, and he's got a bit of work to do, Bevo.
Yes, and still though, full compliments to the Perth Wildcats, the opening of their new venue. Over 12,000 people to see the game, and what a venue it looked like on television. Come up a treat. So congratulations to them and commiserations for not winning their first game at the new venue. But Grantley, talk us through all the winners and losers.
Well, the round did start off in Perth on Friday night at the new arena. Fantastic sight. As you said, Perth Wildcats 65, the Adelaide 36ers 69. Jesse Wagstaff had 14 points for the Wildcats, but the Wildcats shot at only 31% from the field, so they could have an issue with the rings at the new venue. The Sixers, Daniel Johnson, 21 points, 15 rebounds. That was good enough to get him NBL Player of the Week honours. The New Zealand Breakers, 93, defeated the Townsville Crocodiles, 63. This was one-way traffic all the way. Alex Pledger had 18 points on 8 of 11 field goals and 7 rebounds. Cedric Jackson continued his fantastic form, 10 points and 11 assists. For the Crocs, Larry Abney, breakout game for Larry, 11 points and 8 rebounds.
Oh, no.
Not a good night for the Crocs. The Wollongong Hawks, 73 over the Cairns Taipans, 59. The Hawks just keep on keeping on. Adrice Deleon, 23 points for the Hawks. They finished up the game with a 24-7 fourth quarter to get over the top. Alex Loughton had 14 points and 9 rebounds for the Taipans, but he was the only Snake scorer in double digits. Finally, on Sunday afternoon, the Melbourne Tigers, 67, lost to the Sydney Kings, 72. Johnny Flynn had 17 points, 5 assists for the Tigers. Ben Madgen, surely the early season MVP favourite, 26 points for the Sydney Kings, and probably just a little bit more out of that game that we'll be talking about later in the week.
And yes, because you're referring to a little bit of aggro that was going on in that game. Some Seth Scott got ejected from the contest, and he faces the tribunal. So a lot of emotion spilling out in that particular contest. Unfortunately for the Melbourne Tigers, they came up short in front of almost 6,000 people at Hisense Arena. So another great attendance.
It was actually a decent little atmosphere on Sunday afternoon.
It was, and although neither team shot the ball that well, it was still a very entertaining game. So tough times ahead, you would think, for the Melbourne Tigers. They need to get their season back on track pretty quickly because they're going through a long home run at the moment, and the challenge is only going to get tougher as they embark on a lengthy time on the road.
I wouldn't say they need to get it back on track. I'd say they just need to get it on track.
Well,
because they haven't been on track.
Well,
for about 2 seasons.
Prior to the game against Sydney,
even though you tipped them to make the playoffs.
Well, they had the 30-point win against Adelaide. They had the 25-point win against Townsville. So I thought they were on track. So they need to get back on track. But let's take a look at the NBL ladder. And surprisingly, who would have thought the Wollongong Hawks and the Sydney Kings would be in the top 4 at this stage of the season? Pre-season, they've been two of the surprise packages so far this season. New Zealand Breakers, no surprises there. They're on top of the table with 7-1. There you see the Wollongong Hawks at 6-1. Adelaide got enormous talent. Everyone thought that they would be amongst it at 5-3. Sydney at 5-4, and Shane Hill doing a great job extracting every bit of skill out of what is at his disposal. He's just the Sydney Kings are playing some really good, well-structured, organised basketball. Congratulations to them. The Perth Wildcats, there's a surprise after a spectacular start to the season. Rob Beveridge has got a bit of work to do. The Cairns Taipans just starting to falter a little bit. The Melbourne Tigers look like they were on track. They got derailed by the Sydney Kings, but still got some work to do. And the Townsville Crocs, there is an even bigger surprise, Grantley, that they are 0-9, a team that figured in semi-final action last season. That is probably the biggest surprise of this season.
You would have thought that by now that the Townsville Crocs might have had at least one W in the column friendless.
Well, I guess so, Grantley, and they've got a bit of work to do, you would think, because Ian Smythe, the CEO, so administratively they've had some changes going on there. Hard to see how...
No quick fix there.
There is no quick fix. At 0-9, you can write their playoff chances off right now, but hopefully they can get to a point where they can at least get competitive, because they got their pants pulled down against New Zealand, another 30-point loss. So
Has anyone brought out the knock-knock yet?
the knock-knock?
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Owen.
Owen who?
0-9.
Correct. Right. That's all we have time for, and side-splitting stuff by you, Grantley. It's just hysterical, but we need to pay thanks to those that support us, and all starts with our naming rights sponsor,
iiNet.
Connect Better.
10.
And 1.
Sporting.
And FA.
And Virgin Australia.
And don't forget to keep up to date and check out all the scores, stats, news and information. Go to nbl.com.au and follow the action on 1. They are doing an outstanding job. Also on 10 on Sunday afternoons, and NBL TV. Just terrific introduction to the television landscape has been NBL TV. We were promoting it here every week, and we just cannot sing their praises.
Can't get enough of it?
You just cannot get enough of it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do, because it's a wonderful, wonderful addition to the iiNet competition this season. Terrific work by you. Don't forget to check in a little later in the week, where we have a look at all the major issues going on in our ticket off section, and never ever forget about our preview show, which will also be featuring a little later on in the week. Until then, on the #1 podcast in the world, and it's called It Goes Off.